Holy crap, this thing is rotting outside of a community college in the Midwest. I've learned a lot about how education and cars and donations and teaching and industry actually works. They're probably going to destroy it really fast right now. They're just trying to protect, one, their reputation and their safety and their liability. They don't give a rat's behind about automotive history or teaching that to the new students. What's up, people? So today I have come to learn information about a mysterious, rotting, rare, and super cool car we've all seen on Radwood recently on Facebook. It made the rounds, and it's a highly modified, nearly one-off Alpine Renault A310 from the 1980s. Now this particular one was done in yellow with a very special, unusual bodywork. Apparently it was sponsored by or headed up by PPG back in the day, with McLaren developed twin turbo engine on that PRV engine. And it's really cool. And some people found this recently and said it was rotting away in some lot somewhere. Just like absolutely left outside, no hood on the front of it, just rotting, corroding, pile of garbage. Somebody didn't care, so what's going on with this? And naturally, I woke up in the morning, saw it on my Facebook feed, and I love Alpine Renaults. I think they're a cool car. And we didn't get hardly any of them in the United States. So that's a drag, but I know a bit about him. And when I started to look at it, I go, holy crap, this thing is rotting outside of a community college in the Midwest, in Ohio, relatively close to where I live. So naturally, I'm like, I gotta start asking around and get word on the street on what the deal is with this thing. And I figured it out. I came to knowing what it is, but the reason I'm gonna bring this up is because having done Genius Garage for so many years, which is a 501c3 nonprofit public educational charity that I founded, and the whole purpose of that is so for young budding motorsports mechanics, technicians, collegiate level engineers that really want to go somewhere. The problem with school is, in general, across the United States, and I'm coming to learn more so around the world, you don't get any real world experience. So even if you graduate with a degree with a 4.0 in mechanical engineering, it doesn't mean you're going to get a job. Because the companies out there want real world experience. So the reason I did Genius Garage is because the catch-22 exists for young people everywhere. They can't get a job because they don't have experience. But how can they get experience if they can't get a job? So that's why I created Genius Garage, and we have, you know, historic professional level racing cars here from myriad of decades. Recently just took in a Morgan Plus 4 drop head coupe from the 60s. And later today, we even have an early 70s BMW 2002 coming that a gentleman donated. And all these cars have an amazing history to teach from the past of the best of engineering, craftsmanship, and design. So that's why I've done it. In fact, right here, right now, I'm just gonna turn the camera around like I never do. Boom, Omega car, with somebody working on that. So we're doing some high fuel efficiency stuff. So Genius Garage is a really cool place. Obviously, we did a Stop with Campbell biplane replica a couple years ago, which is behind me. You can see some design models and the six-wheel cart I did with the young man whose father brought him in. And I just thought he was a smart young man and needed some mentorship. And right now, the guys back there are building and designing and working on their dreams. So that's why I did Genius Garage. But how this relates is I've learned a lot about how education and cars and donations and teaching and industry actually works. And I've learned a lot about why that unbelievably cool car is rotting outside of, I think it's Owens Community College. I was gonna not say the name, but whatever. It's sitting over there. And I'm not knocking the school in this circumstance, but the situation that comes to exist, why amazing cars end up just rotting in the corner, is because somebody or an entity out there donates them for good reasons. Maybe, and I'm not talking about necessarily this community college, but all over the United States. It doesn't matter if it's a tech school or trade school or shop class or, you know, a church, whatever. People end up donating old cars that they love for a write-off, but also because they had a love for the historic vehicle. And they feel that by donating it to a high school or a shop class or a trade school or whatever, they get the whole song and dance. It's like, yeah, we're going to make your donation matter, and it's going to teach students for years to come. Not exactly. The truth about trade schools and mechanic schools, and like, you know, if you're going to go get certified for modern mechanic stuff, they don't actually want your old cars to teach with. their special cars, the race cars. They don't work for them. That doesn't fit into their curriculum. What they actually want are newer cars because they're training these kids to go out and be mechanics and stuff on things like that. And the problem is they're just out there with their hands out. They want to get anything they can because it's nothing to them if it sits outside and rot. Or if they can, depending on if they have the title for it, if it's owned by a manufacturer or person, they can just auction it off or sell it cheap and get the money. Which is sad because whether it's a person or a company, we'll talk with persons or individuals that donate cars. They want to see that donation matter and teach forevermore. And that's why at Genius Garage, I found a way for those older special cars to be able to teach and forward careers forevermore. It's probably about the only place in the United States that actually does that. And it's just really sad to me. Recently I heard a guy in my hometown, he had a couple of old C4 Corvettes, pretty nice. And I asked him about it, and he said he was thinking about donating them to a local trade school. And I just flat out told him, I said, sir, they're not going to work on your car. That's not part of their curriculum. It's too old. It's not going to go to the best place. And I of course, told him about Genius Garage and let him make his best educated decision as to the value of it. But so the Alpine Renault, let's talk about that. So this car was apparently a PPG pace car in the 80s, I think for the IndyCar series back then. Super cool car, kind of funky 80s bodywork in yellow. And the car's a complete disaster, needs a total restoration. It's nearly garbage right now. But for somebody who loves it or for something like Genius Garage, it would be a perfect project to restore and engineer and get running again. It'd be a perfect thing to teach with. But this car's been sitting out presumably for decades outside and rotting and probably going to get vandalized and all. And so I guess it was owned by PPG, and they donated it to them. They get their write-off. But a vehicle like that in that circumstance, when it comes from a manufacturer, generally has to be used for education, period, or it has to be destroyed, like crushed or whatever. Now, we both well know out there in the world that things don't actually get destroyed. Half the time they end up vanishing. And I'm not going to name names or point it anywhere, but all those Formula SAE programs around the country, they're supposed to destroy the cars, but the old cars go missing from the universities and nobody says anything, but you darn well know where they go. But in the circumstance of a community college or trade school, they've got a team of lawyers and attorneys. And they're just trying to protect, one, their reputation and their safety and their liability. They don't give a rat's behind about automotive history or teaching that to the new students. That's not how that works. That's not how they get money. And the sad thing about it is right now, because people know that this Renault Alpine from PPG, that originally was a PPG thing with McLaren connections, is sitting out there rotting, they're probably going to destroy it really fast right now because the suits of attorney are going to say it's a liability, you have to get rid of it. And so that sucks for the car enthusiast community out there, as well as in effect our nation and young people, for them to learn, because one, the young people never got the opportunity to learn from it. And the other rumor I heard on the street is years ago some idiot put the wrong fuel in it, and probably because, who knows, maybe it was the ignition, something about it, the turbos, I don't know, but apparently they really screwed up the engine of the turbos, so that's even trash. I mean, it needs a full resto, which is cool. It'd be a great thing, especially for something like Genius Garage. You got all these college engineers that could learn from it. But unfortunately, it got given to the wrong place. And they either thought they were going to do something with it, they probably thought it was really cool for a number of years, and then nobody cared, and then they ruined it even more, and then nobody's going to fix that, of course, because it's a giant project, and that's not how they teach. And they don't want to sell it because it probably came from a manufacturer, and it's going to sit around, and me just doing this video is probably sealing this thing's fate to be crushed or destroyed or anything like that, or vanish one night. And that really sucks, because it's amazing how, like, our educational system works a certain way, but people don't think it works that way. They have great intentions. Maybe like an old gentleman who is retired and he's got a collection of cars. Maybe he donates something beautiful. Maybe he donates a beautiful 1930s car. Maybe it's a 40s Cadillac. Maybe it's a 60s Camaro, because he thinks it's going to teach him to learn, and he gets fed a bill of goods. And what actually happens, the cars end up getting rotten, they get mistreated, and or at best, they get liquidated and hopefully go to someone who cares. And all they did is give money to a place that is being detrimental to car history. So one point I want to make is that, I'm not knocking trade schools, community colleges, things like this. But I am saying, if you think you're doing a service to the car enthusiast world or motorsports history or young people by donating an old car to one of those places, I would implore you to find a better place and home for it to go, such as Genius Garage. Because we're actually set up to teach and have a curriculum that relates to older cars and engineering all the way to modern stuff so it can matter and go somewhere, whereas a place like that doesn't. And you know, it is sad to see a vehicle like that rot. Typically manufacturers also don't want any liability, so they would, PPG's long since forgotten about this. I'm sure McLaren, I've talked to Zach Brown in the last year, I'm sure he doesn't give a rat's behind about some weird little Renault that has McLaren turbos sitting at rotting in Ohio somewhere. But it's sad. So I would also say to Owens Community College, guys, I'm gonna say right now, the word is out that you let this car rot and get destroyed. It's all over the internet, it's all over Radwood. Anybody that knows, knows. And you guys need more students. You need to make more tuition. And already there are thousands upon thousands of young people that think you guys suck because you let a really cool piece of motorsports history rot because you don't have the right people to do anything with it, or they don't care, they don't have the time, or you don't have the curriculum. And that's okay. That's not what you're set up to do. But why don't we do something together? You know, that car can go to a nonprofit to teach, like Genius Garage. I have a massive outreach on social media. So if you guys need to find people, let's work together. Why don't you let that car come to Genius Garage, happy to sign anything so you have no liability whatsoever. We can connect within it, we do something great. Even if it connects with PPG or McLaren in the past, like I said, I can call up Zach. I mean, he probably doesn't want to bother with it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we can do something that matters and that helps out everything in the car community. And it doesn't destroy a wonderful piece of history, of motorsports history, that has a value, and to the Northwest Ohio region, which is Owens Community in the greater Toledo area. So I would say that to Owens Community College, look guys, this is a sad thing, the world's starting to know, and it's starting to look really bad that you let that cool of a car just go to pot. So let's do something positive together. And perhaps we can find you guys more of the kind of cars you actually need to teach with and help bolster your program, as well as bolster what we've got going and do it together. That's simply what I would say. So, you know, in this day and age, you guys, especially right now with all the riots and things happening around the world, you know, social media, TV is all about tearing each other apart, period. Just destroying and demolishing and tearing everybody apart. And that doesn't do anything for the future. So in no way do I have something negative to say about trade schools, community colleges, et cetera, and programs like that. I'm sure they've given great educations to young people to work on cars, but they're not set up for vehicles like that. Frankly, they just shouldn't even be donated things like that. Let's get you guys the things you need. Let's get Genius Garage the things we need, and let's make sure our motorsports history doesn't die. You know, it's not just about suits and being afraid of this and pointing the blame and playing all social political positions and powers. You know, I could just as easily in the car community make you guys say nasty things. But I do think there's hope for all you young people watching about stuff like that out there. I've been working very hard with Genius Garage to make things matter. But sadly, that's the fate of that car rotting at Owens Community College. It was given to them years ago, and that's not a kind of car that fits their curriculum. And they're probably quagmired in political liability garbage. And I guarantee you they're going to talk to the lawyers right now if they haven't already, and all of them are going to advise them to crush it. Or they're going to advise them to hide it so it can never be seen, because the least amount of liability is for it to sit and rot for all eternity and take up space. And that's just stupid and wrong. I mean, that vehicle has so many lessons to teach and so much positivity for a community, for education, and for the future. So I would implore them to find an intelligent direction for it like that, so they don't have the liability, but they get great exposure and form new positive relationships, as well as attract some young people to their schools. But anyway, so all you Radwood fans out there, I love it. Don't forget, I do Casey's 80s Garage here. The 944 I finished, and the Toyota MR2. Obviously, Casey's 80s Garage is separate from Genius Garage, but this is my personal channel, so that's where I'm going with it. Recently sold those, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, they won't be my last in the future, but I'm going to finish up the late 80s Volkswagen Scirocco, the late 1970s Porsche 928, and of course, you guys come back every week. I'm giving you updates on Genius Garages, the Lycan Hypersport build, and connecting with W Motors, which was originally a prop car related to the Fast and Furious franchise. So that's really cool. So more cool stuff is coming up. If you guys saw that car and got sad would. I understand, but hopefully the future will be a lot better. I look forward to see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and naturally that you will subscribe, but please click that bell so I can continue to bring you wholesome and entertaining automotive content. Also, a huge thanks to Avalon King ceramic coating. They're supporting this channel and making this all possible. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to use it on all of my vehicles, including my old dirt bike. Ceramic coating bonds directly to the surface of your paint, trim, and plastics to give a long-lasting shine that beats all waxes. It lasts for years and it's easy to maintain. I've got it on my Viper right now, and my car has never looked this good. So give them a try. Again, thanks for watching, and I look forward to see you next time.